Welcome to ManageEngine OpManager Plus free training series. We are also glad to have you all here. Let me introduce myself. I'm Vishak and I've been working in ManageEngine for over 2 years now. I'll be the trainer for the season's OpManager Plus free training. This is a 5-part free training series for ManageEngine OpManager Plus. We have completed the basic network monitoring and management subsection of the webinar series, and now we are entering a brand new subsection, which is Advanced IT Operations Management. Here we'll be talking about the advanced ITOM modules in OpManager Plus and their features, namely traffic and bandwidth analysis, network configuration management, firewall policy management, IP address management, and so on. We already explained how you could get started with each of these modules in the first part of the webinar series. Like while we were covering getting started with OpManager Plus, we also explained the add-on modules, the advanced add-on modules, and how you could start with them. So today we are going to look into the features and functionalities offered by these ITOM modules in some depth. So before we start, let me explain what these advanced ITOM modules are. So these advanced ITOM modules are available as separate tools. So if you just want the functionalities that they offer, you can download, install, and implement them as separate tools. So these are the names of the separate tools. You got ManageEngine OpUtils, Network Configuration Manager, Applications Manager, NetFlow Analyzer, and Firewall Analyzer. Now, you can also enable them as add-ons with OpManager. So like we were explaining in the past 3 parts of this free training series, with OpManager, you get basic network monitoring and management. And you can enable the functionalities of any of these products as add-ons in OpManager, and that too at 20% lesser cost than they would have cost if they were implemented separately. You also have a third option of just installing OpManager Plus. With OpManager Plus, you get the functionalities of OpManager and all of these add-ons by default. So you'll be able to perform advanced IT operations management, full stack observability, and everything from a single interface. And that too, we've calculated the average savings to be close to 40% when compared to like implementing them separately with OpManager as add-ons or downloading and installing them as separate products. So these are 3 ways where, based on your requirements, you can enable these advanced ITOM modules that we're going to discuss in this part of the free training series. So at ManageEngine, we're always looking out for you guys and how we can maximize your return on investment. So you can always contact us to get an idea about which of these 3 options would suit your requirements best. Now that we've seen the different ways you can get these advanced functionalities, let's take a look at how you can enable them as add-ons within OpManager Plus interface. This is the part 3, traffic configuration, firewall and IP address management. And here we're going to talk about enabling, first we're going to talk about enabling advanced ITOM modules from your interface. So it's very simple. If you have OpManager or OpManager Plus, you don't have to separately install any of these advanced ITOM functionalities. They will be there in your product interface. Once you get the requisite license, you can just go into the interface and enable them. So I'll show you where you can enable them. So this is a product version that we have. So to enable the advanced ITOM functionalities, just click on the settings icon here at the top. And here, select displayed modules. So here you'll be able to see all the advanced functionalities. So here I have an OpManager Plus installation, which means everything is enabled by default. So if I want to change something, if I want to like remove something or add something, all I got to do is like tick it or untick it as required and just click on save. So that's how advanced ITOM modules are enabled. So this is another setup that we have. And let's go to settings. The settings icon, not the settings in the, not this settings. There's a settings icon on the top right part. Click on that, select displayed modules, and you'll be able to select and unselect whatever you want. So anyways, so if I'm just saving it right now, it will be updated successfully like that. This is how the advanced ITOM functionalities work, how they're enabled and disabled. Let me go back to the presentation. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the advanced ITOM modules in some detail. Given the surplus of features and use cases available, I won't be able to cover the entire scope of each module within this session. Therefore, I'll be basically covering the most important features and their basic functionalities. If you're interested in any of them, I implore you to attend a separate free training series for each advanced ITOM standalone module by registering in the link we shared now. We'll be sharing a link. In that link, you'll be able to register for the dedicated free training series for each of these modules. So like I mentioned, each of these modules are also available as separate products, and those have their own free training series. So during the course of this training, this particular part of the training, you might be interested in any of them. So you can register for dedicated free training courses for them using the link that I've shared in the chat panel now. Applications Manager is different from the other advanced ITOM modules as it's called a plugin. Plugins, unlike the add-on modules that we're seeing here, have to be installed separately. So we'll cover Applications Manager and its features in the final part of the webinar, that is next week. So this part, we'll be talking about traffic and bandwidth analysis using the NetFlow module or NetFlow Analyzer. We'll talk about configurations and compliance using the NCM module or Network Configuration Manager. We'll talk about firewall rule and policy analysis using the log analysis module or firewall analyzer. And then finally, we'll cover IP address and switchboard mapping with OpUtils. These are the 4 advanced ITOM modules that we'll be covering in this part of the free training series. So we'll be starting off with traffic and bandwidth management with NetFlow Analyzer. OpManager Plus's NFA module or NetFlow Analyzer module is a comprehensive network traffic monitoring tool that supports a wide array of devices and flow technologies. It leverages data from various flow formats, including NetFlow, SFlow, JFlow, IPFix, and NetStream, exported by devices from numerous vendors such as Cisco, Juniper, HP, and more. This extensive compatibility enables in-depth visibility into network traffic patterns, allowing administrators to monitor bandwidth utilization, identify top talkers in the applications, and effectively manage network performance. Key features of OpManager Plus's NFA module includes real-time traffic analysis, customizable dashboards, threshold-based alerts, and detailed reporting capabilities. These tools empower IT teams to proactively monitor network health, swiftly troubleshoot issues, and ensure optimal bandwidth allocation across the organization. So in the first part, I'd explain how you can export flows from your router devices to OpManager Plus to start monitoring them. So once you export your flows, let me show you in this product, you will be able to see the devices and interfaces that you exported here under network, under flow analysis. So here, these are 3 devices from which I've exported flows, and the interfaces they are associated will be listed under them, like shown right here. So let me choose a device. Let me choose this one. Clicking on this device, you'll be able to see the traffic of the device, the traffic summary, and interface traffic. So here you'll be able to see the 10-minute average traffic summary, the maximum speed, the average speed, the volume, and so on. You'll also be able to see details like the flow details, number of flows that have been received or dropped, and also interface traffic. In this particular device, you'll only have discovered one interface. So this is the only interface that's being shown, but you can also see the volume and speed utilization and other details. If you want to see more details about this particular interface, you just need to click on that interface and you'll be taken to the interface overview tab. Here you have the details about this particular interface, the traffic details, application details, source, destination, QoS, and so on. Since this particular interface is the only one that's been discovered in this device, the data in the interface tab and in the device tab will be the same. So you can view things like application traffic. Application traffic monitoring is one of the significant advantages you can get because you will know the bandwidth usage of your network to the bits and pieces. With OpManager Plus NFA module, your application monitoring is made easier as it gives you insights into both the layer 4 and layer 7 application traffic. You can also find, so this basically is a breakdown of the traffic utilized by your applications. The applications are listed right here. So you can just isolate whichever application you want. So let me just isolate this one and see what traffic or what percentage of traffic it's using. So this is like 10-minute average traffic in kbps. So this is basically speed. And it'll give you a breakdown right here in a table format and also in a graphical format. I can also see a protocol-based breakdown. Similarly, if you created application groups, you can see that as well. After that, you can also find the source and destination IP addresses here that are consuming your bandwidth. So you'll be able to see what IP sources are and what percentage of traffic they're consuming. you can also see the same for destination IP addresses right here. You can also use geolocation to get a geological breakdown, like what's the region from which traffic is coming up, and so on. You can also check out the QoS policies associated and top conversation associated right here. So this is QoS policies associated with this your traffic and bandwidth analysis, and also top conversations. So what sources and destinations are most involved in consuming your bandwidth. So you'll be able to get a complete breakdown of the bandwidth usage in your network with the NetFlow analysis module. So the same will be applied for the other devices as well. So you'll be able to see the same details for the other devices in your network as well. So let me just show you from this one. Again, you'll be able to find all the details right here. So here in this particular device, two interfaces are shown. That's why the graph has data from both of them. So you can isolate one of them if you want, or you can go into the device itself. Sorry, the interface itself. So yeah, this is again application information. So the flow analysis module gives you insights into all of this. The license for the flow analysis module is based on a number of interfaces or components for which you wish to monitor traffic and bandwidth. So with OpManager or OpManager Plus, the license is based on devices, while for the NFA module, we have license that is based on the number of interfaces that you wish to monitor. Let me go back to the presentation now. So this is how what we just discussed, flow-based traffic monitoring. And let's move on. So similar to how adaptive thresholds in OpManager Plus works that I just explained in the last part, there's another feature called traffic pattern analysis in OpManager Plus's NetFlow analyzer module. So how this works is that using ML or machine learning, OpManager Plus will predict the upper and lower values for your bandwidth usage. And on top of that, you'll be able to set deviations. So if the monitored or the calculated value goes above the predicted value plus the deviation that you set, or below the predicted lower value and the deviation you set, then you'll receive an alert. So let me show you. Like for instance, if the ML predicted in traffic value, that is the received traffic value, is 25 Mbps for the upper limit and 10 Mbps for the lower limit. So OpManager Plus has calculated that for this particular interface, the expected upper limit for traffic is 25 Mbps. That is expected upper limit for speed, traffic speed is 25 Mbps, and a lower limit is 10 Mbps. And the deviation you set is 10% on the upper limit and 20% on the lower limit. Then you will receive an alert if the received traffic speed crosses an upper limit of 27.5 Mbps, because 10% of 25 Mbps is 2.5 Mbps. So the upper limit with the deviation that you set will be 27.5 Mbps, and the lower limit will be 8 Mbps, because yeah, that is 10 minus 20% of the lower limit, 2, that is 8 Mbps. So based on the deviations that you set and the predicted value using ML, OpManager Plus will basically set an upper and lower limit. So that upper and lower limit can be seen right here. These are the limits. The blue ones are the limits. So if the traffic, the real-time monitor traffic goes above or below the limits that is calculated using the ML predicted value and the deviations you set, you will receive an alert. So you can configure the values and apply traffic pattern analysis to selected interfaces here. So let me show you. In the product, go to settings. You will find all the settings related to the add-on modules under the add-on settings given right here. Let's choose NetFlow. Now go to alert profiles. Here is where you can set up the different kinds of alerts that you will receive using for your traffic and bandwidth analysis module. So here select traffic pattern, then select add. Then modify selection option. Choose the modify selection option. Here you'll be able to select the interfaces for which this particular traffic pattern analysis has to be applied. So here you'll be shown the devices that are being monitored using the NetFlow NFA module. And here you'll be able to select each device and the interfaces available for those devices. So if I want to apply traffic pattern analysis to this in this particular router that I have and this interface, I can just select that. After that, I'll be able to configure. So once I select it and click on save, traffic pattern analysis data collection will start for this interface, which means that OpManager Plus will start monitoring the data, the traffic collected from this particular interface, and it will just analyze. Now I can set deviation using advanced settings right here. So here I'll be able to set deviation percentage for the upper limit and lower limit for in traffic and out traffic as well. So it's not just limited to in traffic, it also can be applied to out traffic. So I'm setting deviation values of 5% each for both in traffic and out traffic lower and upper limit. So once I click save, I will also be able to choose the severity. I have explained what severity is in the last part of the free training series. So yeah, if I want just an attention alert for this, I can just choose that as a severity. And then yeah, after that, I'll also be able to set up a notification profile. Once everything is done, I can just click on, I just need to provide a name. Just going to provide a test for the time being, description if needed. After that, I just need to click on save. And this particular alert profile for traffic pattern analysis is set up. Now, where can I find the data for this? Like if you go to a device to analysis, and I've already set up a traffic pattern analysis for this device's interface, that is this if index 3 interface. So choose that and go to traffic. I'll be able to see the traffic pattern analysis for this interface. So OpManager Plus has narrowed down the upper and lower traffic values for this particular interface during time frames that is mentioned here. So in case an anomaly occurs, anomaly is flagged as see the upper anomaly. So this will be refined as time goes by, and the data will be more crisp and more accurate as time goes by. So anyways, this is how traffic pattern analysis works. Let me go back to the presentation now and talk about network forensics reports. Network forensics helps you generate detailed raw data reports. OpManager Plus's NFA module allows administrators to drill down into network traffic and pinpoint anomalies. This feature is especially useful in identifying security breaches, tracking unauthorized access, and troubleshooting network slowdowns. By providing real-time insights, it ensures faster incident response and minimizes potential risks to the network security. So basically, you will be able to analyze, you'll be able to perform things on your own network using the raw data that is stored in OpManager Plus. So to create a forensics report, you have to enable the raw data storage first. So to do that, go to the presentation, go to the product and go to settings like before. We're going to settings, we're going to add-on settings, and we're going to NetFlow. And here under storage settings, you have the option called raw data. Here you'll be able to configure the details for which raw data has to be stored, the duration of the storage, the alerts for low storage, and so on. So here I've already configured some settings. The raw data storage is on or off. You can do that right here. And then you can choose how long raw data has to be retained for. So since this is just for demonstration purpose, I've just enabled raw data for 1 hour, but you can enable it for as long as 1 week if you want. And with our we have an add-on called HighPerf add-on, right? The one that's given right here. With HighPerf add-on, you can also store raw data for even longer. Anyways, with the normal OpManager Plus and the NFA add-on, you'll be able to retain raw data for as long as 1 week. Anyways, then you can choose the devices for which the raw data is enabled or not enabled. So here I've just enabled for this device. And also when you're storing raw data, storage becomes very important because you don't want to run out of storage in your OpManager Plus installation, right? So you can set up alerts for that. So when should OpManager Plus alert you? When the free disk space goes below a particular limit that you set. And then you can also configure OpManager Plus to automatically delete the oldest raw data when the free disk space goes below. So in case your free disk space goes below a particular limit, if you miss this alert and it goes below this 10% free disk space, then you can also configure OpManager Plus to delete the oldest raw data. Here you also have the option to redirect last 2 hours of data as aggregated values if you want. So once you are configured all your details, you can save it and also refresh it to make sure it's reflected immediately. So once you set up your raw data settings, you can use the network forensics reports. To do that, go to reports and under NetFlow reports, choose forensics. So here you'll be able to choose the device. So I only enabled raw data storage like you just seen for a particular device. So only for this device I've enabled it, and only for this interface. So after that, I'll be able to choose criteria. Let's choose a criteria saying application. So here you'll be able to, so there's like a lot of raw data stored for any device, right? So you can use criteria to narrow down the data that you want to see. So I want to see application. So let's say application must include these. So I want to see the forensics data for some of my applications. So I'm going to include these applications from my network. So these are the names. I can add multiple applications if I want. Again, another one. Include what else? This another app, right? So I can match any or all of these applications. I can add multiple criteria, including other details. Like if I want to further refine the data from this report, I can do that here as well using the various options provided here. Then I can choose the time period for which raw data. So I only enable raw data storage for 2 hours, right? So I won't be able to choose more than that. I'm just going to choose last hour. In fact, if I want, I can also apply a business hour filter, which is like only takes data from selected time periods. Once everything is done, all I need to do is click on generate report and I'll get the report. This is a forensic raw database report. So here, as you can see, this is very granular. You can basically see every second of information, and that too in and out traffic as well. And since I've only filtered out 2 applications, I'll be able to see details for those 2 applications. See, so everything is including the conversations, the QoS, TCP flags, source, destination, everything will be listed. With this forensics reports, in case something goes wrong in my network, I'll be able to dive deep into the extremely granular data and find out what went wrong. This is how forensics reports work. Now let's go back to the presentation and take a look at some of the advanced features available in our NetFlow module. First of all, we have ASAM or Advanced Security Analytics module. So ASAM helps you detect potential security compromises early by analyzing your network behavior. So ASAM module basically analyzes how your network behaves and then uses that to alert you regarding potential security breaches. So let's see where you can configure ASAM. Go to the product, go to settings, and under add-on settings, choose NetFlow. Here you can choose security analytics. So here you can define what problems to enable this ASAM module for. By default, all types of events are enabled in the ASAM module. So if you disable, you can disable the ones that you want. So here in the manage interface tab, you can select what interface to enable the ASAM module for. So you may not want to enable it for all your interfaces, right? So by default, all the interfaces that you have is enabled. So, but if there is some interface which is not critical to your network, you don't want to get alerts for that. So you can just disable them right here like this. Select them and disable them. Yes. Then I can do the same with the problems. So these are the different. So these are the problems that have been enabled for ASAM. So I don't want to get it. Like I only expect problem from these 3 situations: access empty UDP packets, ICMP requests, ICMP responses, and so on. But you can go to the disabled list. By default, everything will be in the enabled list. This is I've actually configured it and customized it. So only these 3 will be in the enabled list. But if you want, you can go to the disabled list and choose what to enable ASAM for. This here you can see all sorts of problems right here. See, and then you'll be able to choose them. You can also customize the algorithms used to detect these problems right here. So the problems that we mentioned here, you can customize the algorithms used to detect them right here. So this is like broadcast flows from source, broadcast flows via router, and so on. So for each problem, you have a set of algorithms as well. And then after that, you can choose the resources. You can enable or disable the resources from which these should be monitored. So once you configure all this, so nothing is actually disabled. The enable list itself, everything is enabled. So like I mentioned, I want to disable these 2. So I choose to disable them. Yes, done. And then, yeah, threshold. Here you'll be able to set thresholds for the problems that you configured. So give it a moment. Yeah, here you'll be able to set thresholds for the upper and lower limit for, the upper limit for the algorithms that you configure. So this is how the advanced security analytics module works in OpManager Plus. Once you customize the data collection and the algorithms and the problems and resources and thresholds, you can set up alarms using the alert profiles here under security. You'll be able to create a alarm profile for this. Anyways, let me go back to the presentation now and talk about deep packet inspection or DPI. You can download a network packet sensor agent to perform deep packet inspection with OpManager Plus. The add-on helps you examine packets and provide real-time insights into network response time and application behavior. This helps administrators pinpoint the root cause of slowdowns and outages. So for deep packet inspection, in fact, for deep packet inspection, NetFlow generation, and net speed tracking, you need the network packet sensor agent. So this is a separate agent or a lightweight agent which you can download and install in your devices. Once you install it, you'll be able to perform deep packet inspection with OpManager Plus. This is particularly useful for analyzing network response time and application behavior. You'll get more advanced insight from the packet level itself. We also have the NetFlow generator, which also uses the network packet sensor agent. You can generate flow data from non-flow supporting devices by converting packets into flows. By combining this NetFlow generation with the deep packet inspection that I just mentioned, you have dual layered analysis of your network activity. It helps IT teams determine whether issues are caused by network latency or application performance. You have an additional insight into what is causing problems in your network and application performance. This will help you facilitate quicker resolution of bottlenecks. Finally, we have NetSpeed Tracker. NetSpeed Tracker also uses the network packet sensor agent to analyze and keep track of the internet speed provided by an ISP or internet service provider. In particular, it monitors the upload and download volume of data at different time intervals and provides insights into jitter and latency issues. You can find and install the network packet sensor agent right here. So go to settings, and under agents, IROM agents, you have network packet sensor. You can install it right here, and then you'll be able to enable the functions, the features that I mentioned. These three features, in fact: deep packet inspection, NetFlow generation, and net speed tracking. And now let me quickly explain alarms, reports, and dashboards in the NFA module. So like I mentioned, you can set up the alarms in the here, the NetFlow, in the alert profiles. Here in the real time, you can use these alarms to see if the current value of a monitored traffic metric like utilization of traffic in percentage, the volume, the speed, or the number of packets has crossed a set value a set number of times within a specified time interval. So that's how real time works. If the value crosses a certain number of pre-configured times that you set, it will generate an alarm. We also have aggregated alarms, which basically makes sure if the total aggregated value of a metric like the volume of traffic or the packets, the number of packets that has been received, has crossed a set limit. So this is the aggregated value. It will, within a time frame that you set, OpManager Plus will monitor whether the value, the aggregated value of volume or number of packets has crossed a limit. You can create a rule to check whether the set limit is crossed at once within the set time period, and if it's not, and if it crosses, you'll receive an alert. And you also have traffic pattern alert that I just mentioned, and ASAM alerts. Here's where you can set up your alarms for the NFA module. Now, you'll find dedicated reports for the NFA module here under NetFlow. So all the different reports that are supported. You can create reports as well, like using the advanced report functionality that I mentioned. And then go to dashboards, and you have dedicated reports for the NFA module right here. So this is all we are going to talk about the NetFlow Analyzer module. And as you are aware, we have barely scratched the surface of the things that you can do with OpManager Plus NFA module. If you're interested, you can sign up for a dedicated 2-part training series that's entirely focused on the NFA module. So like I mentioned in the beginning, we have a dedicated free training series for each of these modules. And at the end of this webinar, I'll be sharing that link again so that you can register for them. So let me go back to the presentation now and move on to the next part, that is configuration and compliance management with network configuration manager. Manager Plus's NCM module or network configuration management module is a comprehensive network change and configuration management tool that is specifically developed to manage the configuration management lifecycle of your routers, switches, firewalls, and other network devices. It basically helps you take control of the configuration management lifecycle of your devices. But when it comes to configurations, you need to do multiple things. You need to make sure that the configurations of your network devices are backed up on time. Then you need to manage those configurations, make sure there's nothing faults or anything that's happening in those configurations. And in case there are some problems, you need to control the configurations. You need to find some better ones, stable configurations. You need to revert them and so on. So for that, we need a complete network configuration management solution. In addition to performing that, Network Configuration Manager is also a compliance management tool. So here in this section, we'll be talking about all this. So let me start up with backing up network configurations. So Network Configuration Manager helps you take backups of network configurations of your devices using three major methods. So let me show that you in the product itself quickly. So here under network, you have config management. Choose that and you will go into a tab which will show you all the devices that are being managed using the NCM module. So if you want to take a backup of any of the devices at any time instantly, just check that device and you'll have a three dot icon here. Choose that and just click on backup. The moment you click on backup, the configuration, the running configuration will be backed up immediately. This is one way you can enable, like take a quick backup of your device. Now, there's another way which is basically leverages syslog based automated change detection. So how that works is just again choose your device, click on three dot icon and choose enable change detection. How does this work? Whenever a change is detected in OpManager Plus NCM module, so basically NCM module specializes on configuration management. So whenever the configuration, someone is logging into your device, one of your network team members is logging into your device and making a change in the configuration, there will be a syslog logout message. When the person who made the change logs out, the device will send a syslog logout message. Once OpManager Plus receives that syslog logout message, it will compare the new configuration with the existing one. If there are any changes in the configuration, it means that whoever logged in made a change, right? If there's a change, OpManager Plus will back up that change automatically. If there is no change, then it's not backed up. So automated change detection is another way where you can ensure that any configuration changes made to your device is automatically saved. So nothing will be lost. That's the second way. The third way to do this is using the schedule icon. So it's right here. This you can also do for multiple devices. Just click on the schedule button given right here once you select a device. And when you click on the schedule button, you'll be able to choose the device that you want to schedule it for. And then afterwards, you'll be able to also configure the notification. So here you'll be able to configure details like whether you want to get notified for a failure and backing up a device, whether to exclude configuration difference from the notification or whether to include it, and whether to notify if there's a change in configuration and so on. So you'll be able to customize the notification that you receive. And also the schedule. Obviously, the most important part of the schedule is the time, the regularity with which the schedule should be committed, right? So here you can do that hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or just one time. All of that can be configured right here. So that's three ways in which you can back up a device. And once you back up a device, you can just go in the device and include, and you'll be able to see all the basic information about a device, including things like the IP address, the credential, what kind of credential you're using, because I covered how we can add those credentials in the first part of the training series, right? So in this particular device, SSH is used to get the configurations. And now you will also be able to see things like whether there's a baseline running conflict, the running configuration version, the baseline configuration version, and so on. And things like compliance as well. I'll explain this soon. Here and under the configuration changes tab, you'll be able to see all the configuration changes that has been performed on this device since like it's been added, right? And you'll also be able to see whether these changes are authorized or unauthorized. And if you want to edit any of this configuration, just click on the edit icon right here and you'll be able to edit them. That's one way. You can save them and save and upload them right here. Also, if you want to authorize or unauthorize a change, just click on the change and you'll be taken to a different tab. In this different tab, it will show you what are the changes with the previous version as well as with the baseline version. And you can review it right here if you want. And then after that, you can approve it. Authorize it or unauthorize it. So it's basically a powerful change management tool which will give you visibility into the config changes made into your devices. So this is how you can back up configuration and then review the changes made by other people. And and another thing that you might want to do is if you have a good stable configuration, you might want to set that as a baseline. So how you can do that is choose your configuration. You'll go to the different tab. Here there's a sandwich icon. Choose the sandwich icon and you'll be able to set it as a baseline. if you set this configuration change as a baseline, it will be marked, it will be labeled as a baseline. This will make it easier for you to revert back in case there's a faulty configuration or an outage and you really want to restore services quickly. You can, baselines are helpful. You can just revert back to a stable, good baseline and make sure your device is up and running. So these are how you can ensure that backups are available and labeled properly and authorized. This is the basic functionality. Then afterwards, you can also make sure that there aren't any configuration issues. How does that work? So let's say there's a configuration conflict in your network device. This is not ideal, right? If there's a configuration conflict between your startup and running configuration, that's one example. So in OpManager Plus's network configuration manager module, there's a feature called difference view, which will help you compare configuration between various devices and various versions as well. So let's take the example of the configuration conflict itself. Let me go to the product and let's go to under network. You go to config management and let's see this device itself. Here, the NCM module has detected a conflict. So it's telling you a conflict has been detected. So if you want to see the conflict, just click on that. It will take you to what's known as the difference view or the diff view. So diff view will list all the configuration lines as an LHS and RHS format, and it will tell you things that have been added, modified, or deleted, and it's color coded. So if things have been added, let me filter it right here. Sorry, let me filter just the added changes. It will be listed as green. So all the green lines are the ones that has been added, which has not been present in the LHS. Similarly, you can filter out the modified columns alone or the deleted columns alone, and you'll be able to review these changes. So a diff view is a powerful tool which will help you ensure that there's not conflicts in your network configuration across your devices. Now, this is one example where you're comparing the, let's say, the versions, the startup and running versions to prevent configuration conflicts. Now, this is not limited to this alone. You can basically compare using this diff view any device and any type of configuration, and that to any version. So you can have the option to change everything right here. So let's say I want to compare the version 1, which is the startup, and it's the baseline as well, I think, for this device, with the version 66. This is just an example I'm telling you, and you can compare it right here. So this is the diff view feature. It will help you prevent configuration conflicts and help you compare configuration across various versions across various devices. So that's one use. So another thing I forgot to mention this. So if there is a configuration conflict between your startup and running versions, you want to rectify that, right? So there's an option to rectify that as well. So to do that, just choose the device that you want to rectify it for, and one second, click on the, give it a moment, click on the 3-dot icon, and you have the option called sync configuration. If you do this, the conflicts, the changes between both the startup and running will be changed. It will be synced with each other. Now, what else can you do? You can set up change notifications to be notified of specific configuration changes instantly. To set up change notifications, go to settings, go to add-on settings, choose NCM, and choose change notifications right here. Like that. So you'll see if there are any existing change notifications, but currently there aren't any. To create one, let's click on the add button. You'll need to provide like a name and description for it. I'm just gonna give it a placeholder name for the time being. And here you can select the configuration type, whether it should apply to any change specific to running configuration, startup configuration, custom configuration, and so on. So here you'll be able to choose whether it's the notification. So how it works is that if in your organization, the priority is to detect any configuration change, like regardless, then you can choose this option. Otherwise, you can narrow it down to running configuration changes, startup configuration changes, or custom configuration changes, and so on. Let me just choose running for the time being. And we can also configure the type of change, whether it's an authorized or unauthorized change, and so on. So in your organization, you might want to prevent unauthorized actors from making changes on your network devices. So you can choose this. And then you can choose, like, let's say the type of notification that you want to receive. So it includes email, SNMP traps, syslog tickets. So based on like your response, what kind of response you favor, whether it should be immediate or whether it should be comprehensive and everything, you can just choose the type of response notification. Now, let's discuss the rollback option. This is the rollback option. This feature is useful for devices where you want to revert to a previous configuration without making critical changes. To enable the rollback functionality, select the rollback option and then select whether you want to roll back to a previous version or to the version that is labeled as the baseline. I already mentioned that you can label baselines by clicking on the sandwich icon. After choosing a particular configuration change, you can click on the sandwich icon and label it as a baseline. So you have the option to select to roll it back to a baseline that you labeled or to the previous version. So that's up to you, whether you prefer. So how does this work? When a change is detected on the associated device, it will automatically roll back to the selected version. So if you choose the labeled baseline, it will roll back to the labeled baseline. So anyways, that's how this works. Now, you can choose to export the configuration of selected devices to a destination on your system, ensuring that you have backup in case of a disaster. That's another feature that we have with the NCM module. To see that, again, go to settings and choose add-on settings, NCM, and here you can choose the type of export configuration, right? You can choose the frequency, whether to never do it, to daily, weekly, monthly. So this will ensure that there is some configuration backed up to your device to a destination folder of your choosing. In case of an extreme emergency where all of your data is gone, you can always have a local backup. Let me go back to the presentation and talk about the next feature in the NCM module, which is detecting firmware vulnerabilities. The firmware vulnerability detection feature in OpManager Plus' NCM module helps you track, detect, and resolve the latest vulnerabilities that could affect your network devices. OpManager Plus updates its definition of the vulnerabilities, the CVE IDs, and the base scores from the National Vulnerability Database, or NVD, which is a US government repository of standards based on the vulnerability management data. It also collects data from top vendors like Cisco and Fortinet. So if you want to see firmware vulnerabilities, just go to the product, under config management, under network, under config management, you can choose from this three dot icon, you can see the firmware vulnerability tab. Choose that, and you'll get an overview of the vulnerabilities across your network. So you'll get the total vulnerabilities, critical vulnerabilities, exploits available, and so on. And for each type of vulnerability, you'll see their CVE IDs and then a reference URL. So reference URL has been fetched from multiple sources. This is basically how you can patch up the vulnerability or how you can fix it. So let's see. When you click here, you'll be given a list of reference URLs that you can refer to try and fix these issues. And each vulnerability is also classified based on the severity, whether it should be classified as critical vulnerabilities, important ones, moderate ones, low ones, and so on. So yeah, you can prioritize in case you're searching to hunt down the vulnerabilities across your network. You can prioritize it using the severity option. So you can also see it for individual devices by going into a device and choosing the firmware vulnerabilities tab. So you'll be able to narrow it down. You also have a report under settings, under NCM, under let me see, firmware versions of vulnerabilities. So yeah, you'll be given a report. You have multiple reports based on things like that, actually. So anyways, this is how firmware vulnerability detection works. Let me go back to the presentation now and talk about compliance. Compliance is crucial to avoid security vulnerabilities or loopholes in a network environment. Since it's also mandatory, non-compliance with top standards can lead to legal and financial consequences. Some of the top global standards, compliance standards supported in OpManager Plus' NCM module include CIS benchmarks, SOX, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and so on. You can create your own policies as well based on your specific requirements. You can find compliance here under settings, under NCM, add-on settings, under NCM, and choose compliance on the left side. So here you'll be seeing three things actually: rules, rule groups, and policies. How this works is these are the existing policies supported by default with OpManager Plus, like I mentioned. Choose a policy and you'll be able to like configure the conditions. So if you want to configure and if you want to edit and apply an existing compliance policy that's already configured in OpManager Plus, and you want to apply that compliance policy to your devices, just choose that and choose the condition. So whether it should apply on running or startup configurations, and whether you want to get a violation alarm if any rule in the policy is violated, or if only a critical or major rule in the policy is violated. So in this policy, we have already defined the Cisco ASA policy, right? It's a popular policy, and we've already defined major and critical rules. So you can choose whether to get alerted when any rule, like any small rule or big rule is violated, or only if major rules are violated. That you can do. And afterwards, you can also choose whether to add the rules that are existing in this policy, right? So this is actually a rule group. A rule group is basically a group of rules, as the name suggests. You can add it right here. Once you do all that, these are the ones that are already configured because it's an existing compliance policy. So anyways, you can edit it right here. If you want to create your own compliance policy, you have to start at the ground level itself. So first you have to create some rules. These are the existing rules in OpManager Plus. You can create rules by clicking on add, and you can add the rule right here. Once you have the rules created, you can group them together into rule groups from the existing rules. So just create a name for this rule group. Afterwards, you can select the rules. So if you've already added rules in the rule tab, you'll be able to group them together to make a rule group. Once you have the rule groups, you can create a new policy by going to the policies tab and clicking on add. Here you'll be able to provide a name for the policy. I'm just going to give this name. Afterwards, you'll be able to configure the details like I already showed with an existing policy. When you're creating a new policy as well, you can choose whether to get alerted for any violation or only for major violation, and whether to apply this to a running configuration to a startup configuration. Once that is done, click on next, and you'll be able to choose from the existing list of rule groups about for this policy. So if you have created your own rule groups, you can add them together. And once that is done, you can click on save. I haven't selected anything anyways. Once you click on save, the policy will be listed here. And then you can apply it to your devices. To see the firmware, see the compliance status of your devices, under network, go to config management and choose compliance. So basically only 4 compliance policies, the ones that are applied by default, are the only ones available now. And if you want to see the compliance status of your device alone, choose the device and go to compliance, and you'll be able to see the compliance with the Cisco iOS policy, which is given right here. Anyways, let me go back to the presentation and talk about the last feature from the NCM module, which is cofiglets. Now, what are cofiglets? Cofiglets are executable configuration or script templates that can be used to push commands to multiple devices for bulk execution or troubleshooting purposes. And what are cofiglets used for? Cofiglets are primarily used for troubleshooting faulty devices, pushing new configurations, or modifying configuration on multiple devices simultaneously. It's basically an automation tool. So with NCM, you can basically create and apply cofiglets to your network devices and reduce the manual effort and time you need to invest into all this. So let me show you where you can add these cofiglets. Go to settings, under add-on settings, choose NCM and choose cofiglets from the left side tab. So here you have a list of existing configlet templates available. So if you want to create a new one, just as usual, just click on the add option, and you'll be able to provide the details of the cofiglets right here. So this is how you can add cofiglets. Cofiglets are divided into CLI and REST cofiglets right here, and the existing templates are all given here. And just like with the NFA module, we are limited by time. Therefore, there's a lot of things that the NCM module can do for you, including this cofiglets itself, which is a major topic. So if you are interested in the network configuration, compliance, firmware, and automation capabilities that we mentioned here, you can attend the NCM modules free training, that's a dedicated free training, using the link that we'll share at the end. If once you register for it, you'll be sent a link to attend it, just like with the OPM Plus or the OpManager Plus free training. Now we're done with the NCM module of this free training, this part of the free training series. Let's move on to the next topic, which is firewall rule and policy analysis with firewall analyzer module. Firewall analyzer module is primarily a reporting module which will help you manage and optimize your firewall rules and policies. In addition to this primary functionality, Firewall Analyzer module can also help you identify configuration changes, take backups of your firewall configurations. It also helps you analyze the security and traffic logs and notify you about attacks and bandwidth anomalies. Its primary functionality, however, is reporting your firewall rules and policies and performing firewall audits. So let me do how this works. Go to the product and go to reports first. Under firewall reports, you have a set of reports starting from policy overview right here. So policy overview report will provide you, as the name suggests, with an overview of all the rules and policies used in your firewall device. So it will categorize your policies. It will categorize your rules and it will like show you what rules are allowing for certain things to happen. Like if say you have a rule allowing for IP addresses from particular source to or a subnet to enter your network, to connect to your network, that will be an allowed rule, right? So it will classify rules based on whether they are an allowing rule or a denying rule, and also things like the rules are inactive or whether they're like any to any rules and so on. So you'll be able to get a complete overview of your rules right here. In addition to the rules, you'll also see things like details, NAT rules, excluded rules, and so on. So you can review everything using the graph given here or the table given here. And if you want to review the rules, let's say I want to take a look at the inactive rules. You've got to click on it and it will show you the inactive rules, right? So this is the policy overview report. Now, after the policy overview report, we have policy optimization. The policy optimization helps you flag anomalies in your rules and rectify them. So what kind of anomalies can affect your firewall rules? So here are a list. I'll explain each. If a rule matches all the packets as a subsequent rule and the subsequent rules perform different actions than the former one, then the subsequent rule is said to be a shadowed rule. Removing this rule will not affect the security policy put in place. It's basically a duplication, kind of like a duplication. A redundant anomaly is also similar. If a rule matches all the packets as a subsequent rule and the subsequent rule performs the same actions as the former one, then the subsequent rule is said to be a redundant rule. So having two rules like that will be a redundant anomaly. Once again, removing this rule will not affect the security policy that you're putting in place. Shadow and redundancy anomaly are very common and also very similar. The only difference between the two is that shadow anomalies, the actions of the rules differ, while in redundancy, it does not. So as you can see in this firewall device that I've shown here, there is no redundancy and shadow anomalies, but there are some 4 generalization and correlation anomalies. A generalization anomaly is an anomaly that happens if the first rule matches all the packets that the second rule also matches, but then the second rule does not match all the packets that the first rule does. And a correlation anomaly is an anomaly if there are 2 rules have different filtering actions, and the first rule matches with some packets in the second rule and vice versa. So these are all different kinds of anomalies that Firewall Analyzer module will help you, will flag for you. And then you can review these rules and you can remove them or take the necessary actions to ensure that your firewall policies and rules are like fine-tuned. So you have things like rule suggestion right here. There's no suggestions right now. You have things like policy fine-tuning, the usage of objects, duplicate objects, and so on. So if they are there, they'll be shown in this part of the report. So after that, we have something known as the rule cleanup. A rule cleanup report obtains a comprehensive list of all the unused firewall rules. So let's say you want to see, I'm going to choose the firewall, this one right here. It will provide you with a list of unused firewall rules, unused objects, unused interfaces, and so on, unassigned objects, and so on. So you'll be able to review these and remove them so that if like you want to optimize your firewall rules, you can do that right here. Yeah, actually, there are 8 of them. So 8 of these firewall rules, and you'll be able to remove them by clicking the delete action right here. Anyways, we also have other rules like a rule reorder report will basically suggest rule positions by correlating rule hits with complexities and anomalies. It estimates performance improvements and helps up firewall rules for efficiency. We also have other reports like the rule impact report. So rule impact reports helps you perform in-depth impact analysis before implementing new rules. The rule impact feature helps assess potential risks, detect threats, and optimize proposed rule changes. So these are So using the policy overview function report, you'll be able to get an overview of the entire firewall rules you have to put in place. You can optimize it using the policy optimization report. You can clean them up, you can reorder them, and you can assess their impact. What if you want to add something? That you can do using the rule administration report given right here. Here you'll be able to add new rules for your devices by clicking on the add button right here. And after that, you can track it using the option given right here, rule tracking. So anyways, once you add them, you'll be able to track them right here. The rule change history, you can set up rule change alerts, and you can compare your policies as well. So these are the rule and policy optimization features of your firewall analyzer module. Now let's look at the next topic, that is security audits and compliance. Firewall Analyzer helps you conduct your security audits on your firewall configurations, and it will help you identify vulnerabilities and their severity. And then Firewall Analyzer module provides recommendations to fix those reported issues as well. It will offer, on top of that, on top of auditing your configurations and reviewing security vulnerabilities, you can also review the compliance of your firewall and track configuration changes using diffuse or different use. The same feature that we saw in the NCM module is also available here. So again, under reports, you have things like standard. So choose standard if you want to see all the different compliance policies that is available by default, and your whether your device is successful or failed with those compliance. So yeah, again, in this particular compliance, we are successful. Everything else is shown as failed. So once you perform the required actions for being compliant with these policies, you will be getting a compliance, fully compliant certificate here. So Firewall Analyzer supports frameworks like PCI DSS, as given right here, SANS, NIIST, ISO, NERC, CIP, SOX, HIPAA, and so on. All the top standards are supported by default. And then if you want to, like, perform change management, if you want to see any changes made on your firewall device in this firewall configurations, you can see that right here on the change management report. Currently, there are no changes that have been made into this firewall. That's why it's not showing. But if you have made any changes, they will be shown. And again, like with the NCM module, they'll be color coded. Red will be for deleted, yellow is modified instead of purple, and green is for changes that are being added. And you'll also be able to review things like security. You can perform a security audit, and it will give you a very detailed report on the security policies, the security of your firewall. So you can use this report to get like a lot of insights into the security of your firewall and take remedial action in case there are any vulnerabilities. And you also have reports for things like logs. You can audit your logs if you want, and you can like do a config backup report. You can do an aggregated search, a row search, and so all of these features is possible using the firewall reports given here. Now let's move on to firewall log analysis. So again, Firewall Analyzer module can help you like analyze the logs that is generated by your firewall device and like provide you insights into the log, like what the users are searching for, what rules are being violated, and what rules are being hit upon, or things like virus attacks, VPN performance, and so on. So for that, it uses firewall syslogs. So to review firewall log performance, you can go to network, choose firewall logs and rules on the network, choose your device, and get a complete overview of the device. You can see things like the bandwidth usage, the summary of the device itself, the bandwidth usage of the device, the top 10 things like host, destination, protocol groups, external sites, the conversations, and so on, the sites that are being allowed or denied, whether people are accessing those sites, the applications, the rules that are like the usage trend of firewall rules, the top allowed rules, the top denied rules. The security reports will basically tell you the top attack status, the top virus status, denied destination, denied hosts, and so on. You also have reports on the VPN usage within your network. So it's a very comprehensive and tool that will help you get insights into your firewall usage and firewall devices. along with the rule and policy optimization that we mentioned before. Now, let's take a look at the final advanced item module, that is IP address and switchboard management with OpUtils module. So, in the first part of the free training series, I had mentioned how you can add IP addresses to your IPAM module, right? If you added your IP addresses, they will show up here under IP management. So here you will be given a set of subnets along with things like the size of the subnet, the usage, whether it's how much it's used, the status, the latest status, and so on. So if you want to see more details about your subnets, just click on your existing subnet. So I'm going to choose this one because it seems to be occupied a lot. You choose that, it will give you a detailed list of your IP addresses that are used within your subnet. Now you can see it using the tree view that's given on the left side right here. Tree view is one way of reviewing all the subnets in your organization based on the source, whether they're from a default group, whether they're from your DHCP servers, whether they're from discovered subnets, and so on. So you also have another option called donut view right here, which will list your IP addresses based on whether they're transient, available, or used. So, and you'll also get things like the DNS, the AD, NIC type, and so on. And here you'll be able to review your IP addresses based on things like DNS status, whether they're used or transient or whether they're available, because in this particular subnet, if you remember, most of the IP addresses were used, right? So that's why they're all shown as used. If you want to see more details about an IP address, just click on it and you'll take into the IP profile of that IP address, and you'll be able to see all the details. If things like alarms are there for the IP address, it will be shown along with the history. So anyways, this is how IP address management works. You also have switchboard mapping. If you have added a switch to your switchboard mapper module, you'll be able to see all the details of the switch. Here you'll be able to see a summary of your ports, including things whether they're available, whether the status is up or down, and things like that. If you want to see a map of your ports, you can see that right here under port view. And here you can just click on a port and go to the ports profile and see details of that port. And after that, you can also review rogue devices that are trying to connect to your network. So here is a list of rogue devices. So you'll be able to mark them as trusted if you want right here by just clicking on mark as trusted, or if you just want to provide them with temporary access, you can just mark them as rest, mark them as guest. Anyways, and also how do you mark multiple devices like in bulk instead of doing this manually? How do you mark a lot of devices as trusted? So that you can just import your MAC address details by importing a list of MAC addresses that you trust into this particular field, and that will help you mark a lot of devices as in a bulk as trusted. So this is the functionalities of the OpUtils module. So these are the features that we just reviewed. We are done with the fourth part of a pre-training series. Attend the fifth and final part if you want to learn more about application performance and user experience management. So if you want to learn more about the applications manager module of OpManager Plus, you can attend the fifth part. It will be all about application performance monitoring and user experience management. It will cover things like cloud monitoring, database monitoring, VM monitoring, application monitoring as nature is, and so on. So if you are interested in that side of the network, you can attend the final part. And if you attend all 5 parts, as you know, you will get access to a free certification course. If you want to learn more about the advanced ITOM modules that we discussed today, you can attend the dedicated free training webinars for each of them. Each webinar series will be completely focused on these products and will cover features, functionalities, and best practices. You can register for any of these webinar series using the links seen in the slide. We are also sharing these links in the Q&A panel. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, of this part, as well as during each of the add-on modules that I discussed, you can register for each of these free training series and learn more about these products using dedicated webinar sessions. Please share your valuable feedback for this webinar using the polls option that we now triggered in the webinar. I'll wait for 2 minutes for you to perform the polls. OpManager Plus is globally recognized and decorated by trusted and popular review platforms. These are some of the recent recognitions we have received in network monitoring, IT infrastructure monitoring, and applications monitoring market segments. Also, we're proud to announce now that we have been recognized by Gartner in its 2024 Voice of the Customer for Observability Platforms report, and we are recognized as a customer choice vendor. What this means is that a lot of users are interested in adopting ManageEngine's IT solutions, and they're also having a good experience with this. So if you want a complimentary copy of this report, kindly vote yes in the triggered poll. So we are triggering another poll, and if you vote yes, we'll ensure that the report finds its way into your inbox. If you're a regular user of OpManager Plus or OpManager, you can share a review in popular review sites and earn a reward. Visit the URL that we're now sharing in the chat panel to share your review. Like I mentioned, if you attend all 5 parts of this webinar series, you can attend our certification course for free. Even if you haven't attended all 5 parts, you can take the certification course, although it will cost you $49. So if you're interested, please register using the link that is shown here, or we'll also share it in the chat panel. If you want to stay in the loop of everything new in IT operations management, you can give us a follow on LinkedIn. We're actively sharing insights, articles, and infographics related to the ITOM space. Once again, we thank you for attending this free training series. See you on the next part. Goodbye.